What up YouTube, this is your president, the Presidential Tourist, back with another video. I'm here at the Showcase of Citrus, and I'm going to be interviewing the myth, the man, the legend. And if you've seen my previous monster truck ride here that I did, the haunted one, you recognize this man.
Who are you?
My name's Michael.
Mike, nice to meet you. I'm Ranger Jack.
Nice to meet you.
Noise, loud noise. Little ones, you want to plug the little ones' ears? This is really loud. Here we go. Alright, I think we're ready.
Base Camp to Monster Truck 4. Base Camp to Monster Truck 4. Come in, over.
This is Monster Truck 4. Go ahead.
Be advised, we lost contact with Monster Truck 1, 2, and 3, and none of the other Rangers are answering the radios. Over.
Copy that. We'll keep our eyes open. Did you guys hear that? We just lost contact with all the other monster trucks. No, that's bad. This expedition just became a rescue mission. You want to get out now? You want to go on a rescue mission? Everybody?
Yes.
Are you ready to go? I said, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hang on, everybody. We're moving out.
Anyways, the myth, the man, the legend, Jack Castle, stuntman, actor, theme park, attraction designer, author. We're going to hit many points of his life here. We're going to be starting here with this really cool monster truck, and he's just over there. So you know what that means? Let's get to it. Yeah. Alright, well here he is, the myth, the man, the legend himself.
I don't know about all of that, but thank you.
Oh, most definitely, because as I researched your life, you had a very exciting life. But first, before we get into that, please introduce yourself.
Oh, hi everybody. I'm Jack Castle, and I don't know what we're really focusing on today. I'm an author. You can visit my books and learn all about me at jackcastlebooks.com. I'm also the creative director for Showcase of Citrus. And maybe you've seen one of Michael's awesome videos on the haunted monster truck ride that we just did. That was a lot of fun. And we're also getting into the Christmas monster truck ride. So that's kind of what's going on in my life right now is theming out these attractions. And then one condition I have is I get to drive people. Once I create these worlds, I get to drive people through it. I have the greatest job in the world.
So you like a more hands-on approach?
I really do, because it's very similar, like you had asked me about Silverwood Theme Park in North Idaho. One of the really fun things doing that for 9 years was you would take people on this journey through this world you created, and you would see what works and what doesn't work. And if it didn't work, we would change it. And we had the luxury of acting very quickly to guest response. So if something didn't work, we would cut it and maybe try something else. So that was a lot of fun too.
Now tell us a little bit how you came to work here at the Showcase of Citrus.
Oh, that's a really fun story. Okay, so Showcase of Citrus. I was, as you know, I'm an author, but I was writing part-time for what was called the Clermont Leader, which is now the Sun. And they, the Clermont Leader asked me to do a story here on the Showcase of Citrus, particularly about the owners, John Arnold and Tara Bushell. I come out here, I did the story, I did the article, how they started this awesome place 36 years ago. And they said, hey, did you ride the monster truck ride? And I said, I did. And they said, what did you think? And I said, you know, it's a lot of fun, but I think you could do even more fun things. And they said, like what? And long story short, while we were talking, I just sketched out, and I'll send you the photo. I sketched out a drawing of like this Bigfoot preserve wall. And I said, you know, I'd have the monster truck go in through this Bigfoot preserve wall. Think, you know, like Jurassic Park kind of motif. When you go in and we got to find Bigfoot. And I think that could really add to the attraction. And they nodded their heads, and I think John said, hey, can I take a picture of that? And he did. And to my surprise, 2 days later, just 2 days later, they built this massive wall with signage, you know, that said Bigfoot Preserve. That was years ago. And then here we are not even 2 years later, we have Bigfoot Bob children's books, we have Bigfoot Bob plushies, we have Allie Alligator plushie, we have children activity books. I mean, it's been quite the ride.
So how long have you been working here?
On and off, because you know I still have other projects. On and off about 2 years. So
now, why Bigfoot? Not like the skunk ape. I know skunk ape's more known here in Florida than the Bigfoot.
You know, skunk. You're absolutely correct. Skunk ape is more associated with Florida than the Bigfoot, and we looked at that, but I felt like it's kind of a hard sell, right? You know, hey, do you want to buy a skunk ape versus do you want to buy a really cute Bigfoot? So, you know, we don't claim that it's a real, you know, Bigfoot out there. We like to have fun. It's all in good fun, you know. So Bigfoot is a little bit more commercial, more friendly, you know.
Now, just talk briefly about the creative process for doing the haunted monster truck ride.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. All right, the creative process for the haunted monster truck ride. I mean, look at the size of this thing. So we're gonna take people out into the woods, into the Florida woods. How do you scare people who are way up here? You know, so the real challenge, excuse me, the real challenge was, how do I scare people who are way up there? You know, they're not gonna be scared of a kid in a rubber mask when they're way up there. So one of the first things I realized is the vertical challenges. And the other thing that I realized is I wanted to do something different than everybody else. And I'll give you an example. If you go to Disney and Disney's Not So Scary, which is really cute for little kids, right? That's fine, but it's not really for anybody older than that. And if you go to Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, my daughter's 20 years old, and she loves Halloween, but she's really not into the blood and guts, you know, and all the gore and everything. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to design a ride for families who maybe they're a little too big for Disney's Not So Scary, or maybe, but also they're not really quite ready for Universal Studios' awesome Halloween Horror Nights, something right in between. So that's where I started, was meeting the vertical challenges and aiming for that very narrow target. So the first thing I did was I wanted the scares to escalate. And you've ridden the ride, you've seen this firsthand. And the first thing is we see the dead bodies, you know, from far away. And then the next thing is, well, now the bodies are moving. Now we have these zombies that are moving toward you, but they're still kind of far away. And then we start experiencing demons and things in the trees.
Like the werewolves?
Yes, yeah. And they attack the truck. And then we would pull up to the outposts, and then the outposts were intentionally built the same height as the monster trucks, so the scare actors could actually attack the people on the truck. And that was the big jump scare toward the end. So yeah, that was my creative process, was just putting together a proposal, running it by Tara Bushell, and she loved it, and then we just started working toward that end.
Just tell us briefly how it is to drive one of these things.
What's it like driving a monster truck? There's nothing like driving a monster truck. It's the big. I drove one of the trucks in from Jurassic Park 2. That's a whole nother story with Ian, Jeff Goldblum. That's a whole nother story on the back lots. But even this is bigger than that, than the big Jurassic Park double-decker. And it's like driving a big U-Haul that puts you way up in the air. And where the majority of our training comes in is the rear assist. So as you saw earlier, these wheels will actually disengage and they'll turn. So we're able to make really tight turns that you wouldn't normally be able to make in these custom monster truck vehicles.
And this used to be a bus, correct?
Yeah, they all start out as a bus. In fact, you can see one that's going to be on the chopping block pretty soon out there in the orchard. Right now we're using it as a prop, but they all start out as just a regular bus, and then they cut off the top, and then they start working on the bottom. So
I'm assuming this is off-road only. Is this
Yeah,
street legal?
it's not street legal.
I didn't think so.
In fact, if we have to send one out for, like we did recently, we have to get a tractor trailer, take the wheels off because it's too wide even for a tractor trailer, and ship it that way. So that's how we move it.
Now, you mentioned earlier you're going to be doing a Christmas version. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Maybe give us a few hints?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I think you and I were talking earlier, and you kind of enjoyed that story, how it came about. So we'll start with that. We're doing the Haunted Monster Truck Ride. Here it is. We're going into October, and just for funsies, I did a quick script called the Christmas Monster Truck Ride, and I ended up bringing it to Tara, and I said, yeah, hey, for 2026, next year, why don't we do a Christmas version of the Haunted Monster Truck Ride? We'll do a Christmas Monster Truck Ride. And it'll have elves, and it'll have Santa, and we'll have thousands of lights in the trees, and all these Christmas characters. And I said, I think this would be a lot of fun. We could start working on it now and be ready by 2026, Christmas. Well, she read it. She's very fast. She reads very fast. She absorbs things extremely fast, faster than anybody I've ever met. And she just sort of blinked a couple times, and she goes, yeah, let's do this now. And I said, what? No, we got to do it next year. This is going to take me a year to put it together. And she goes, no, I want it now. And I was like, it's impossible. Well, one thing you need to know about Tara and John Arnold and the family who owns Showcase of Citrus, these guys, when they set their mind to do something, it happens. They're the ones that roll up their sleeves in a hurricane, and they're sandbagging, orange trees if that's what's needed. They do whatever it takes to get the mission done, and it's actually very inspiring.
And when should that start? When would it be the first ride?
Oh, great question. The first ride is going to be the day after Thanksgiving, right here, Christmas Monster Truck Ride. Go to Showcase of Citrus and make your reservation. Because the Haunted Monster Truck Rides, for weeks ahead of schedule, it was already sold out. So I highly recommend you make a reservation for the Christmas Monster Truck Ride at the showcaseofcitrus.com.
Now, I'm assuming people should assume that they'll be seeing you in it?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of part of the package. As you've seen, I love this stuff. It's one thing to create a world for people to enjoy, but it's a whole icing on the cake when you get to drive those people through that world, and you get to see them laughing and singing the songs and reacting to all the things that they see on the ride. It's like I said, it's the greatest job in the world.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit now about your stunt work. How did you begin? I know you started Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, correct?
Yes.
Was that the very first thing?
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit about that audition, how that came to be? Because I know it's a very interesting story.
Yeah, so you know about that audition.
Yes.
How did you know about that audition?
I did some deep research.
Wow, that is some deep dive research. Okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. This was way back in the 90s. They just came out at Hollywood Studios, which back then was called MGM Studios. Well, hang on, let's just cut for now because they're getting ready to crank.
All right, if you could just please continue that story you're talking about with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles audition.
Oh, okay, thank you. Because we do need to check on Sam, make sure he's doing okay out in the field. And I'll even drive you by some of the animals.
Okay.
So, yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. First of all, I can't believe you found that audition story. And it goes like this. My good friend Len Greer at the time, and we're still friends, Len Greer said, hey, I want to audition for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had no idea what a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle was, to be honest. And you got to remember, this is before American Idol. This is before we knew what auditions look like, right? So Len had no idea what to expect in an audition. I was working at Home Depot. I was just a kid working at Home Depot. I had no idea what to expect. Well, he says, look, I need you to come with me, because he thought the audition they were going to ask 2 martial artists to fight each other. So he says, I want you to be the other martial artist, and I'll beat you up and show them I can do martial arts. Remember, we're stupid kids. So we go to this audition at UCF, University of Central Florida, and the first thing we discover, sorry about all the noise.
It's all right.
The first thing we discover is there is over 700 people there who all want to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And, you know, and I remember because my number was like 668, you know, it was crazy. So we get in line, we sign up, we get our number, and for those of you who don't know what a Disney audition is like, I'll walk you through it. You get in there at 50 people at a time to start, right? So they line you up, and there's 50 of you, and they go, okay, and it's nothing personal, but we need people who fit the costumes. So if you're too tall or you're too short or whatever, you know, we're cutting people just on that. So there'd be 50 people, you're lined up, you just stand straight, you know, away from everybody, and they go down the line, they go, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes. And they cut a lot of us in that. It's called a type out, meaning you don't fit the body type that will fit in the costume. So that's that's the first part of the audition. The next part of the audition process was very surprising. They brought us in, and about 25 to 50 people, and they spread us all out in lines, and there's 3 people at a table watching our every move, and they say, okay, we're going to teach you a simple dance combination, and we're going to see if you can do it. And the majority of us are, like me, are martial artists and gymnasts. Mm-hmm. So we're all looking at each other, and basically the dance choreographer said, look, if you can't do learn a simple dance combination quickly, well, you're not going to be able to do the more complex choreography that we're going to throw at you later. So we would rather find that out now. So long story short, we all right, thanks for that.
Yes.
So we the dance choreographer looks at us and says, yeah, just to recap, he says, if you can't pick up a simple dance combination, you're not going to be able to do the more complex choreography we're going to throw at you later. So we do this dance combination, and I saw really good martial artists get cut because they couldn't pick up the dance choreography quickly. Mm-hmm. Well, Len Greer and I, we somehow made it through that portion of the audition process. So then we go back out in the hallway where you wait forever. And I had brought a book, Apollo 13, I think I was reading, or Jurassic Park. I was reading a book, and it just took forever. So then they brought us in, and then they said, okay, now we're gonna see what kind of martial arts you can do. And there was 2 phases of martial arts where they would cut us. They said, okay, cut. Now we went from 700, the type out, down to 500, the dance combination down to, I'd say, 200, and now they're just bringing us in at about 8 at a time, and we're doing martial arts. Then they asked, anybody know gymnastics? Okay, so very few of the martial artists could do gymnastics, and me and my buddy, we had no problem with that. We ended up doing a bunch of gymnastics. So we do the gymnastics pass. Now, I mean, there was not many left. I think there was maybe 40 left. Keep in mind, it's only like 12 positions. That's it. They're only hiring 12 people out of 700 to 800 people. So there's only 12 of us left. They now bring us in one at a time.
And is this a section where they ask you to do Goofy?
Yeah, don't get ahead. Don't get ahead. So they bring me in, and I'm by myself. This is the first time that I've been brought in by myself. And I'm like, okay, what do I have to do now? You know, what dance monkey, you know, what dance monkey thing am I gonna have to do this time? So, long story short, they go, hey, listen, we need you to act like Goofy painting a house. And I'm like, okay. So I go, gosh, I'm Goofy painting a house. And they go, cut, because now they're filming. And I said, what's wrong? And they said, you can't talk, because we need to know that you're able to animate the turtle suit with your body and not your mouth. And I said, okay. So all I remembered about Goofy was he was always putting his foot in things. And keep in mind, this audition changed the course of my life. So I remembered that Goofy's always putting his foot in things. There happened to be a wastebasket that was about the size of my foot. And it was nearby. And there was a small table, conference table that was nearby. So I end up going, you know, pretending I'm painting this house. I put my foot in the basket without looking. And now I'm hopping around with this wastebasket on my foot, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then I back up to the table, the conference table. I'm a gymnast. I back up to the table, like I tripped over it backwards, and I do a back roll over the table and fall over on the other side. I did not plan this. The basket goes flying up into the air, lands on the table. I am now on the floor going, gosh, what happened? You know, looking around, and the wastebasket is precariously balanced on the table. Well, I end up bumping the table, and the wastebasket goes foop over my head. And I just go, you know, the whole Goofy, like, where are the lights? You know, what happened to the lights? And next thing you know, I hear laughing. I hear them just laughing hysterically. These poor people had been here all day looking at 800 people to hire, 12 bodies, and they're just laughing their butts off. So then they said, you know, whereas before it was like, you go here, go there. Now it's like, would you mind waiting outside? And I said, yeah, no problem. So I go into the hallway and I see my buddy Len Greer there, and he's next. And he goes, what was it like? And I said, they asked me to be Goofy painting a house. And he goes, okay, good. And because remember, we're not here for me. We're here for Len Greer. So we go through the, I'm waiting in the hallway, and we're now entering the exotic pen, by the way. So we go into, Len Greer goes into the audition hall, and he comes out just a few seconds later. And I'm like, oh no, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. He's only been in there for a few seconds, and he's already out. Yeah, look at the exotic animals you see on the monster truck.
Yeah, I see ostriches, I see camels.
Yeah, you see gazelle, you see ostriches. They got about 7 ostriches. There's a camel over there. We call him Joe Camel. We've got the 3 zebra over there. Scanner and barcode and receipt was born just this year. So yeah, it's actually a very cool ride, and you get to, when you ride the monster truck ride, you actually get to feed all these animals. It's pretty cool. And then we're gonna come up on the poacher house, which we're building for the new show, which is going to come along next year. It's going to be very similar to the attractions we're doing now, where it's going to be a story, you know, a bit more of a family-friendly story than just a quick, you know, an hour trip into the woods and see all the animals. So here you see the poacher's house, still under development, but you saw it here first. Oh, so to finish out that story, Len Greer comes out of the audition room, and I said, what happened? He said, I got cut. I said, what do you mean you got cut? He said, they asked me to be Tigger racing a marathon, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, what do you mean you didn't know what to do? Oh, here's our brand new observation tower under construction, and we're actually, at some point, we're going to drop people off at the observation tower. I can't tell you what's going inside it, that's top secret, but I can tell you it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be all brand new next year. And we're also, let's see, we're going to go over the bridge that's still under construction, and you can ride this now. Hopefully people aren't waiting on pins and needles for that story to end. So we're gonna go through John asked me to theme out the route, and I said, you know, what about an African theme? And he said, you know, what about like an Amazon theme? And I really love that. So you can see where we're building the rope. We're hanging the rope on the bridge. And when it's done, it'll look like an old bridge in the jungles of the Amazon. We're gonna have really fun things in the pond over there. Let's see. You look on your left, you'll see some bison. And we've got a Watusi out here. Should be some yak. Oh, there's the yak. I'll show you the yak in just a minute. That's the Watusi. I haven't done the day ride in a while, so I might be off a little bit on my names. That's the baby buffalo. By the way, for any of you out there who've never been to Yellowstone, bison buffalo are very dangerous. Never approach them on foot. They will trample you. More tourists get killed by bison and buffalo than anything else.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos, and I always think, boy, those people are really stupid.
Yeah, you would think, right? So you got a nice yak over there, and I've never seen anybody take as good a care of these animals as they have here at Showcase of Citrus. They care a great deal about these animals, and they're always doing everything in their power to take care of them.
Now, do you know how they acquire them? I'm assuming you just can't just get these easily.
No, it's not easy, and it's not easy to take care of them. And here's an example. Let's see if this is the yak. No, they had one yak. The horns were actually growing into the head, so they had to trank the yak and have a vet shave down the horns so it wouldn't kill him. And that's what they ended up doing. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap taking care of these animals. We got to go a little fast here. I don't want to get stuck in the dirt. This route is really meant for a monster truck, not a 4Runner. Hopefully we'll get through. And we're through. Well, the hard parts anyway. But yeah, you can see the expansion project is coming along really nicely. And we should be starting the new show sometime in January, February of next year. But again, you heard that here first. So pretty exciting stuff.
Anyways, the rest of the story, he got cut, and then how did...
Len gets cut, and he says words that are going to change the course of my life. And I said, well, you got cut. Let's go. Let's leave. And I was just prepared to leave. I didn't want to be a Ninja Turtle. And so Len says, hey, I want you to go back in because I need to know what's next in the audition for the next time that I audition. And I said, okay, fine, but you owe me. So I go back in, and I'm thinking, all right, what are they going to ask me to do now? And long story short, they didn't ask me anything. They said, listen, that whole thing, we don't know if you planned that or it just happened. That whole thing with the bucket falling on your head was hilarious. Hey, cowboy! And they said, we'd like to offer you a contract at Hollywood. Back then it was called MGM Studios. And next thing you know, I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And from there, I started getting stunt shows, including at Universal Studios, the Wild West Stunt Show, the Lagoon Stunt Show. And I did all these different stunt shows. And it was a lot of fun. It was an incredible career.
So Disney was very good with the way they treated you?
Extremely good. Extremely. In fact, I met my wife there. My wife was a dancer at Walt Disney World. She was Cinderella, and we met at Disney. And at the time, I was no longer a Ninja Turtle. But I think that might be a story for another day.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to have to come back and do a two-parter.
A two-parter. I would love that.
But I wonder if you could briefly talk about your encounters with George Lucas.
Okay.
And the Han Solo thing that you did.
Okay, all right. So we're going to do Han Solo today. All right, that's a big one. So I apologize in advance if I drone on too long. And then if it's okay after this, I gotta get going.
Yeah, this is the one story I really want to hear about.
This is the one. Okay, all right. You're gonna like this story.
Among many.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. So I'm in Holland. I'm overseas doing this Indiana Jones type stunt show.
In the Netherlands, right?
In the Netherlands. Very good. Yeah, where I learned to speak Dutch. And so I'm actually on my way back, and I'm in Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, and I get this phone call from my roommate, and my roommate says, with, you know, hey, with no context, he says, you want to be Han Solo? And I was like, okay. I had no idea what they were talking about. So I fly back to the States, and after being gone for a year, I get back to the States, and the very next day, they say, come out to the studios right away. And what I learned later was Star Wars Weekends it was the very first year Star Wars Weekends, and George Lucas approved all the Luke Skywalker lookalikes. He approved all the Princess Leia lookalikes, but he approved none of the Harrison Ford lookalikes. And they were desperate because they were opening in a week. So I guess before, you know, I got there, they were in the conference room, and all the actor headshots are on the wall. And one of them says, who's that guy? You know, what about that guy? And they point to my headshot. And somebody says, oh no, he's doing an Indiana Jones thing overseas. You know, he's not available. Well, my roommate just happened to be walking by and says, no, that's my roommate, and he's actually flying back tomorrow. And that's how the phone call came about. So I get out there, and I see all these really good-looking actors, really good-looking dudes who are in line to read for George Lucas. I don't know George Lucas is in there, by the way. They're all lined up. And I'm listening to these guys who are obviously professional actors. And they would walk in and they would go, hello, my name is Jason, and I'm going to read for Han Solo. And then they would attempt to read the lines, you know, from the movie.
And would they try to do his voice?
They would try. They would try. And some of them were pretty good at it. But so I was like, there's no way I'm going to get this, right? I can't compete with these professional actors. I'm a stuntman. So I figured, you know what? I might as well have fun with it. And so I'm still in the hallway. They put me in, you know, the Han Solo outfit for the audition. And all of a sudden, we're near the Muppet Theater, right? So I don't know if you know who Sweetums is. Sweetums is the big Muppet that's like 7 feet tall. He's got the really big mouth with the fangs.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe you can include a picture of him. But Sweetums goes walking by, and I grab him and I'm like, "Hey, do you happen to know who? Are you able to do the Chewbacca? Do you know who Chewbacca is?" And he's like, "Ma!" And he does this perfect Chewbacca noise. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. So I tell him what I want to do. By the way, we're still friends, and he does actor work for me on occasion. So he goes, yeah, I'm willing to do that. So one of the actors leaves. I think I was last. They open the door, and again, I don't know George Lucas is in the room. I think it's just Disney people. They open the door, and they go, yeah, come on in. So even before I go in, I'm in the hallway, and I start yelling at Sweetums. Come on, Chewie, get in there. And Chewie puts his head in there, who is Sweetums. Yeah. So he sticks his head in there. Sweetums sticks his head in there, and just like Chewie, he goes, nah, shakes his head, and then I say, I don't care what you smell, get in there. And so he leaves, and I walk into the room, and instead of doing the prepared script, I just do the whole opening from Star Wars. Han Solo, Captain Millennium Falcon. Chewie here tells me you're looking for safe passage to the Alderaan system. And these guys are eating it up. They're like, yeah, we're looking for safe passage to the Alderaan system. Let me guess, you three and your personal droids? And they're like, yeah. And then I was just kind of winging it and doing the whole opening from Star Wars when they first meet Han in the cantina. And I just kind of wrap it up. Yes, Docking Bay 94. Don't be late. And let me guess, no Imperial entanglements. And so you would think I would notice that George Lucas is in the room. But I was so caught up in being Han Solo and talking with Chewie and talking to them like they're part of the universe, I didn't even notice it.
Do you think he purposely made himself not be noticeable?
He's very good at that, because we worked together for weeks. For about 9 weeks after that, we worked together with all the stars on bringing Disney's Star Wars weekends to life. And he's very good at blending in the background. When he walks through a crowd, he wears Kmart clothes, and you would never even know he's there. He would walk right by you. I would watch him walk through a crowd. No, I was like, oh my gosh, people don't even realize there's George Lucas walking past them.
I remember hearing you saying that he sometimes keeps his children separate from him.
He does. So the escort, a lot of times he'll have the escort say, hey, I want my kids separate from me. That way if I do get recognized and I get mobbed, that way it doesn't, bother my kids. And he's just a really great guy. I mean, he's a genuinely nice guy who loves what he does, and he's extremely professional.
So you had a good working relationship behind the scenes?
We absolutely did. We, working with, I remember, and I'll send you the photo. I remember Peter Mayhew, who plays Chewbacca. God bless him, I miss him. He and I and Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett, we all went to the movies to see the re-release of Star Wars. And so we're watching the movies, and Peter Mayhew leans over and he says, you see the Cloud City, how shiny the floors are? And I said, yeah. And he goes, the pads of my feet, of my Chewie feet, were so smooth, whenever I'd come around the corner, I'd slip and fall. And so this woman behind us, who doesn't know who these guys are in the theater, she leans forward and she goes, shh, some of us are trying to watch the movie. And I lean over to Peter and I go, oh my gosh, if she only knew she just shushed Chewbacca in a Star Wars movie. And Peter goes, no, don't. He goes, we'll never get out of here. I said, okay, but you owe me one. And he paid up. I caught him the next day. I was dressed as Han Solo, and I said, Peter, you owe me one. Can we please do that photo where Harrison Ford is leaning up against you while you're Chewbacca? And he goes, yeah, fine, come here. And Peter Mayhew's a big dude. He takes his gargantuan hand and he rests it on my shoulder, and I couldn't believe how heavy it was. And we got to take one of my favorite photographs of all time of me and Peter Mayhew.
Did you ever meet Harrison Ford?
He's the one guy I didn't get to meet. I got to meet all the others. Working at Disney, I got to meet a lot of stars and doing a lot of television shows, filmings that came through Disney and Universal back when they were trying to be the next Hollywood East. I got to meet a lot of people, but no, Harrison Ford was the one guy I never got to meet.
So you got to meet Mark Hamill then?
Yes, Mark Hamill was on the set of Sequest. We weren't working together, but I was doing Sequest quite a bit, so I was able to get on the set. And I forget what he did for Sequest, but I ended up getting his autograph. And I didn't really get a chance to interact with him because, it's Luke Skywalker. Everybody wanted to meet him, and I didn't want to take up his time, so I didn't tell him anything other than, sir, may I please have your autograph? And
did he know who you were and what you did with Star Wars?
Nothing. He knew, to this day, he knew nothing. I didn't expect him to know who I was. There had to be 50 people surrounding him, all wanting the same thing, which is either a picture with him or an autograph. And so I just got a quick autograph, and that was it, which was amazing in itself. I have a poster at home with all the actors. They all signed it, including him. And I've had a very blessed life. All right, now we're pulling back into the barn. I'm gonna have to drop you off here because I got to get back to work. But I got to tell you, it was really great seeing you again, Michael.
It's great seeing you too.
Yeah, thank you for your time, everybody, and listen to me blather on about my life. I hope you found some of it interesting.
And we're going to have to come back and do a part 2 because I want to talk to you. It's definitely about Sequest and some other things.
Sequest, Earth to the Moon. Yeah, I'm happy to. If you think people will be interested, I'm happy to do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. This was a really honor. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
So this is a little out of order, for the interview, but this is the Bigfoot Preserve. And how I met these guys is I was doing an article for what was called the Clermont News Leader back then. And they said, yeah, did you ride our monster truck ride? And I said, I did. And they said, what do you think? And I said, well, I would do a couple things differently. And they said, like what? And I'll send you the sketch. I'd have my legal pad with me that I take notes on, because I'm old school, right? Mm-hmm. And I just sketched out, and I'll send you the drawing. I sketched out a quick Bigfoot Preserve entrance. These guys built it in 2 days. 2 days they built this entrance. Now this is actually 2.0. The first one wasn't as quite as elaborate as this, but it was pretty close. And then now we're going into the Bigfoot woods. You see the monkey over there, and we had the challenges are very unique here. When I had to design all these things for Showcase, because we're in Florida woods. So example, you see the remnants of a hunter, a poacher we had up there. And the premise is the poacher is trying to steal a baby Bigfoot. Well, this eagle, of all things, just decided after he was up there for 2 years, he just shredded it. He shredded the eagle. And then here's a fun little spot of a Bigfoot. A lot of times I like to put things in that are discoverable, that we don't necessarily point it out, but oh yeah, there's a Bigfoot back there. And we don't even necessarily say on the tour that one. And then our big Bigfoot, while you're in the Bigfoot Preserve, which by the way, keep your hands inside because Bigfoot do tend to be a little grabby. You put your hand out there and they'll pull you right out. But we have a Bigfoot. Where's Lucy? She's around here somewhere.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, there she is. And they have a very interesting defense mechanism. When spotted, they do not move. So, yeah, so this is the Bigfoot Preserve as it stands right now. It's been so successful, we're actually doing a lot more. You can see a lot of construction going on for not only the Haunted Monster Truck Ride, but now the Christmas Monster Truck Ride. And
you're designing that as well?
That's correct. So the way that came about, here's Outpost 2. This will be Sam's stop right here. So the way the Christmas Monster Truck Ride came about was we were doing the Haunted Monster Truck Ride, and it was so successful we had to add an extra truck, right? Mm-hmm. So while we were doing the Haunted Monster Truck Ride, I did a script of a Christmas Monster Truck Ride, and I went to Tara Bushell, the owner, and I said, hey, listen, for 2026, next year, right? For 2026, maybe we could do a Christmas Monster Truck Ride as well. Well, Tara, in her usual fashion, she quickly read the script. She's very fast, very highly intelligent. She read the script, immediately grasped it, and said, yeah, I want this now. And I said, Tara, that's impossible. I need a year to put this together. Mm-hmm. And she said, no, now. So we're doing it. I mean, as you'll see people everywhere just building on this thing. We have holiday light people coming out en masse because we're going to have thousands of lights in the woods. In the woods where the snakes are, where the bugs are, where everything, we're going to have it. Every attraction here has its challenges. I think one of the things you saw in the Haunted Monster Truck Ride, great video, by the way.
Oh,
that
thanks.
is easily one of the best haunted. We had hundreds of influencers.
Some of them I know, and I know every one of them I talked to, they enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Well, yours was one of the best of the haunted monster truck ride. I really enjoyed it. But the Christmas one, or excuse me, the haunted monster truck ride, there was a huge challenge because here we are on this giant truck, right? You're 14 feet in the air with your eyeballs, and how do you scare somebody who's way up high? And so that was the vertical challenge was one of my biggest challenges with that ride. And then my other challenge was I wanted escalation, and I wanted to hit this target that was between, you know, Disney's Not So Scary, you know, for like little kids, but not quite for the people who go to Halloween Horror Nights, which is excellent, by the way. But they go there, and there's a lot of blood and gore and pretty violent scares. I wanted a target somewhere in between. It was very scary, you know, doing that because you could miss everybody, right? You could hit that target, and you know it's too scary for the littles, but it's not scary enough for the adults. And what I found is there's a lot of people out there, like my daughter, who's 20 years old, who they love Halloween, and they love a good jump scare, and we had some good ones, but without all the blood and gore. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, it was very family friendly. It was a very good, hey, I'm not quite ready for Halloween Horror Nights. I'm not quite ready for the kids to be at Halloween Horror Nights. This was a really good warm up, you know, and I really enjoyed that.
All right, that's it for the interview. Thanks to Jack for having me come down and do this interview. We're going to come back and do another one because he has an amazing amount of stories, and I didn't even get to half the things I wanted to talk to him about. But I want to show he very generously gave me a copy of his one book series, and he signed it for me, which is really cool. I actually am going to read this and see what it's all about. I know he was one Amazon's #1 bestseller for a little bit. I want to check it out. But yeah, there's a ton more questions I'm going to be asking him about, you know, Jack Castle as the author, and then more as his stunt work and acting. He's had a very interesting life. He's a very nice man, and I enjoyed talking to him a lot. And hopefully you all enjoyed the interview, but expect a part 2 soon with him. But yeah, here at the Showcase of Citrus in Clermont, Florida. I'll make sure I also put their link below. I'll also put the link below to the Haunted Monster Truck Ride that I did, which you'll see him in there. He plays the character Ranger Jack, and he designed the whole thing. And then, of course, he's designing, as he mentioned earlier, a Christmas monster truck ride too, which I also be filming on this channel when they have them available to the public. All right, and I'll put Jack's website below as well, so you can learn more about him. All right, any comments, questions, let me know. Thank you for watching. Bye, everybody, bye. Yeah, you know, that means time to get on to the next one. Yeah.